Thank you, Marwan, and hello, everyone. It's my greatest pleasure and honor to welcome you all to Northwestern University. I want you to know how thrilled we are to have you here at Northwestern and how we are here to support you in every way possible as you begin your new journey with us. You are joining a truly global Northwestern University community, one composed of over 8,000 undergraduates and 13,000 graduate students from more than 75 countries, with more than 50 world-class research centers across vibrant campuses in Evanston, Chicago, San Francisco, New York City, Washington, D.C., Miami, and of course, Qatar. I recognized that you are launching into a new course of study and perhaps a new career path at a time of uncertainty. And the path that brought you here over the past 18 months may not have been easy. But I hope you feel also a tremendous sense of possibility and optimism for the future, despite this time of global crisis. This time in our history presents unprecedented global challenges for sure, yet it also presents unprecedented opportunities to shape the future. This is a rare moment of disruption to many of the systems, structures, and the modes of operation we've come to take for granted, to how we live, work, study, and engage with the world more broadly. It's clear that the world is on the verge of a global reset in which traditional paradigms, political alliances, and modes of operation no longer hold. The world no longer has a singular center. Multiple foci of thought leadership, economic power, and political authority now are interlinked in a networked way. And this is undoubtedly a good thing. But this means that in today's global environment, real change and innovation will come from collaboration across sectors, national borders, and cultural identities on the basis of equal and reciprocal exchange, mutual respect, and genuine curiosity and empathy. Innovation will also depend on new forms of transdisciplinary collaboration. For example, the meshing of journalism with new technologies and software systems to combat fake news and misinformation, or the collaboration of engineers, anthropologists, political scientists, communications and business management experts working with indigenous communities and NGO leaders to mitigate the effects of climate change on marginalized communities, as we're doing right now at Northwestern Buffett. Or again, musicians at Northwestern joining forces with experts in psychiatry, child development, and neuroscience, as we're doing at Northwestern, to develop new interventions for children processing trauma, and of course, the intermingling of students across generations on our campuses worldwide. While much uncertainty remains, one thing that has emerged from the pandemic and other recent global crises is the need for new alliances and structures of collaboration. And of course, new forms of media, communications are going to be absolutely central to all this work. So today, I want to invite you to join us as you begin your studies to reimagine what can be done and to create a more just and sustainable world. First, let's begin with a new reality. Guess what? The new genius is a collaborative genius. Pressing issues like migration, inequality, and the global COVID-19 pandemic require the best insights from across societies and around the world. Yet research and learning on such topics still predominantly happens in silos of expertise, geography, culture, and language, dominated by Western perspectives, and conducted largely in English. Ongoing transnational collaboration remains all too rare. This reality came into sharp focus for me personally 10 years ago, when I found myself on the ground in the middle of the great East Japan earthquake and Fukushima nuclear disaster of 2011. I was studying the role of legal expertise in financial markets when Japan's economy crumbled under the weight of an unanticipated environmental and health crisis. As a mother, I also had to think about how to survive, what to do about my son in that context. So it was challenging. And when the dust settled in Japan, the consensus was that the nuclear disaster could have been avoided or at least anticipated if the academics, the nuclear scientists, the engineers had all been talking to each other. Those events brought home the fact that the assumption that we make and the silos we build around our work can quite literally kill. But now you are in a position to burst open those silos. As a cohort of scholars and citizens from 31 countries who have studied in 23 nations before coming to Northwestern, itself one of the leading higher education institutions in the world, known for its interdisciplinary excellence and world-class journalism, communications, theater, and music programs, alongside top-ranked business, law, medicine, education, and engineering programs. So, you are all poised to enter the global arena from one of the best training grounds in the world. The challenge and opportunity for each of you then, in one way or another, will be to continue to contribute to fostering the kind of collaboration across national, cultural, linguistic, disciplinary, and other borders necessary for addressing today's increasingly complex and interconnected global challenges. How can this be done? How can we all contribute to more inclusive and collaborative approaches to problem solving across our domains of expertise and fields of interest? Well, for starters, we need communications platforms that help us to begin to better engage with foreignness of all kinds. The digital domain's echo chambers often skew and obscure reality, especially in the spaces where we need to socialize. So we need to develop digital platforms that promote and encourage radical diversity of thought and equitable participation from the grassroots to the grasstops. Laborers and policymakers, students and scholars, nonprofits and business leaders, and perhaps most important, ordinary citizens. We need to break down the tangible and invisible barriers that prevent these groups from coming together to make real progress in grappling with the most pressing social challenges of our time. Remaining locked inside our respective ivory towers and areas of expertise is simply no longer an option. Now, I've attempted to do this through Meridian 180, which is a community of over 1,500 diverse global thought leaders hosted here at Northwestern Buffett, in which we engage in online discussions and come together to exchange ideas to develop adaptive solutions to economic, environmental, political, social justice, and other crucial issues in 5 different languages all at once, which is very challenging, as you can imagine. Fostering these kinds of multilingual dialogues across national borders and traditional silos of expertise is one of the ways we can break through what is foreign and surface novel approaches to addressing shared challenges. We also need to create incentive structures within our institutions and recognize and reward collaborative, cross-disciplinary work oriented towards building a more sustainable future. At Northwestern, for example, scholars from across disciplines this year joined forces amid COVID-19 to contribute to vaccine development, engineer new PPE technologies, play a leading role in distributing critical medical supplies, and much more. And we need to act on this moment of collaborative spirit and make this our permanent modus operandi. Pressing issues like migration, inequality, and now the global COVID-19 pandemic require the best insights from around the world and across our societies. Yet collaboration too often happens by serendipity alone, rather than by design. So of course, we all must continue to be the very best we can be in our own disciplines, but we also have to take the time to look sideways, take risks, make connections, and follow some pathways that are not so well defined for us, where the payoffs maybe aren't so clear. And so I want to urge each of you as students to take a class in an area outside your direct area of expertise or planned employment, or get to know classmates from around the world, or of course come visit us here in Evanston, or join one of our opportunities for virtual engagement with students on the Evanston and Chicago campuses, or perhaps participate in our Global Engagement Studies Institute, where you work alongside other Northwestern students in different sites in the developing world. Frankly, in my view, we also need to carve out more time just for pure intellectual play, some space for free-form dialogue where there's nothing to gain or lose. At moments of serious disruption like our own, it's critical for us all to create spaces for acknowledging the unknowns, for wondering, and for tinkering too. So that's the how. But what's the purpose of all this collaboration within the university and beyond? Here, I believe that our touch point must be intergenerational justice. How do we foster the research, innovation, and learning that will create the conditions for a better world for the next generation, from climate change to social justice? And this in turn requires reimagining the university as a site of intergenerational dialogue, a place where we can have frank and subtle, multivalent conversations across generations about our greatest global challenges, with the voices and interests of youth and rising generations like yourselves at the fore. Of course, this already happens in our classrooms in Chicago and in Doha every day. But I'm very proud to share that Northwestern has now committed to this objective alongside more than 50 other higher education institutions across 6 continents that are now part of the U7+ Alliance of World Universities. As Secretariat of the U7+ Alliance, Northwestern is working with leaders across the public and private sectors to create new opportunities for mutual understanding and equitable resource sharing across generations. Part of this work has involved hosting a series of intergenerational roundtable discussions on topics ranging from climate change and sustainable innovation to gender inequality and women's rights. Each of us has a responsibility to lead and contribute to this kind of dialogue. We can encourage policymakers, civil society leaders, colleagues, and others to invite youth voices and perspectives into efforts to tackle the global challenges future generations are poised to inherit. We can also think about the knowledge and the communications we produce through our studies and our work as not just an output, but a conversation with our future selves and future generations. We can ask how the knowledge we produce may be applied to cultivating better futures for ourselves and others, how it can contribute to producing the most meaningful ideas and reflections, the most impactful innovations, and the most just and fulfilling lived experiences. Dearest Wildcats, you are that next generation. It's up to you. So on behalf of the entire global Northwestern community, my very warmest welcome to you once again. We can't wait to see what exciting ideas you create, what new pathways you forge, and how these cross, merge, and intersect with others around the world to eliminate new ways forward towards addressing our greatest global challenges.